Have you ever wondered how many things we use today started out as pure science fiction? Turns out, Hollywood's wildest ideas have a funny way of becoming reality. From tablets to self-driving cars and even holograms, some of the craziest gadgets imagined decades ago now exist in real life. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be questioning whether we're living in the future or inside a sci-fi movie. Let's jump into 7 real-life inventions inspired by sci-fi movies. Number 1. Tablets. Inspired by Star Trek. Back in the 1960s, Star Trek showed us a device called the PADD, short for Personal Access Display Device. It was a flat, handheld screen used by the crew to access information, communicate, and even manage ship functions. Sound familiar? Fast forward to today. In 2010, Apple introduced the world to the iPad, a sleek, portable touchscreen tablet that does exactly what the PADD did, and more. Here's something even more fascinating. Several engineers behind modern tablets openly admitted that they grew up watching Star Trek and were inspired to make those fictional devices real. And it doesn't stop there. Remember the communicator in Star Trek? That device also paved the way for the invention of the flip phone in the 1990s. So the next time you check emails or watch YouTube on your tablet, just know you're literally using a piece of sci-fi history. Number 2. Video calls. Inspired by 2001, A Space Odyssey. Long before FaceTime or Zoom meetings became part of daily life, the movie 2001, A Space Odyssey imagined it first. Released in 1968, it featured scenes where characters made video calls across space and Earth. Back then, the idea seemed like pure fantasy, being able to see and talk to someone thousands of miles away, live on screen. Impossible. But fast forward a few decades, and now we have real-time video conferencing on our phones, laptops, and even smartwatches. Even cooler, astronauts on the International Space Station use video calls daily to stay in touch with mission control and their families, exactly like Kubrick predicted. So next time you're stuck in a Zoom call, remember, you're basically living in a sci-fi classic. Number 3. Self-driving cars, inspired by Total Recall and Knight Rider. Think self-driving cars are a brand new idea? Think again. In the 1990 film Total Recall, there's a scene where a character hops into a fully autonomous taxi called the Johnny Cab. No driver, no steering wheel, just a robotic system handling everything. Similarly, in the 80s TV show Knight Rider, the iconic car KITT not only drove itself but could talk, think, and make decisions. Fast forward to today. Companies like Tesla and Waymo have actual self-driving cars cruising real roads. They use AI, sensors, and cameras to navigate traffic without human input. Sure, they don't crack jokes like Johnny Cab yet, but we're not too far off. What once seemed like a far-fetched dream is now something you might pass on your daily commute. Number 4. Holograms. Inspired by Star Wars and Iron Man. Remember the scene in Star Wars where Princess Leia sends a holographic message? Or when Tony Stark uses holograms to design his suits in Iron Man? Back then, holograms were pure movie magic. Today, however, holographic technology is becoming more real every year. We have concerts featuring holograms of famous artists, interactive holographic displays from companies like Microsoft's HoloLens, and even experimental 3D holographic video calls. While we haven't quite reached the Star Wars level of projecting full figures in mid-air, the line between fiction and reality keeps getting thinner. Imagine being able to chat with a hologram of your friend in your living room. The future's closer than you think. Number 5. Smartwatches. Inspired by Dick Tracy. Way back in the 1940s, comic book detective Dick Tracy wore a futuristic device, a two-way wrist radio. He could talk to his colleagues straight from his wrist, a wild idea at the time. Fast forward to today, and we've got smartwatches that can do far more. You can answer calls, send texts, monitor your heart rate, track your workouts, and even pay for your coffee, all from your wrist. Brands like Apple and Samsung turned what was once a comic book fantasy into something millions of people wear daily. It's funny how science fiction becomes science fact when the world catches up. Number 6. Tractor beams. Inspired by Star Trek. One of the coolest gadgets in Star Trek was the tractor beam, a beam of energy that could pull objects toward the ship without touching them. Sounds impossible, right? Well, scientists today have developed real-life tractor beams using lasers, acoustic waves, and even light manipulation to move tiny particles and droplets. It's still on a small scale. Think microscopic objects, not spaceships, but the basic principle is real and being improved. Give it a few decades and who knows? Maybe we'll be towing cargo in space with tractor beams too. Number 7. Bionic limbs. Inspired by RoboCop and Star Wars. Sci-Fi has long explored the idea of bionic limbs. Think Luke Skywalker's robotic hand or RoboCop's enhanced body. Today, that fiction is reality. Advanced prosthetic limbs are now capable of being controlled by neural signals from the user's brain, allowing precise movement. Even more incredible, some prosthetics provide sensory feedback, letting users feel touch or pressure. What was once a dream of futuristic cyborgs is now improving lives around the world. We've come a long way from imagining gadgets in movies to holding them in our hands. Science fiction has always been a roadmap for innovation, and as you've seen today, reality keeps catching up faster than we expect. Which invention surprised you the most? Drop a comment and let us know. And don't forget to subscribe for more facts that blur the line between fiction and reality.